I talked recently about how the TCL QMK series has one of the best displays and performance for the price. But do allow me to throw another one into the mid-range pot. Hisense's 2025 U75QG Mini LED TV. This thing right here boasts 2500 nits, so extremely bright, upgraded gaming features like native 165Hz support and a whole lot more other features. But of course, this being the show, let's see ultimately whether all of this is truly dope or nope, or marketing fluff. And by the way, I managed to snag a higher end U8QG to see if it's worth upgrading to if you have some extra cash to burn. Just to set the tone, both the U75QG and U8QG are more similar than not. The two differences come down ultimately to performance, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but first let's look at the specs. The MSRP for the U75QG is $1,500, and I've seen it go down to half of that in the real world. The U8QG is $2,200, and I've seen that slash down to $1,400 during big sales. Both of these are VA panels, with the U7 maxing out at 2,500 nits thereabouts, and the U8 at 5,000 plus nits. Both have refresh rates at 165Hz native. As for speakers, the U75 has a 2.1.2 setup at 50 watts altogether with left-right mains, a subwoofer at the back, and two upward firing channels. For the U8, there's a 4.1.2 at 72 watts max with left-right primary drivers, left-right surround, one sub at the back as well, and two top-firing speakers. Now the stands for the U8, it has two height levels, while the U7 is non-height adjustable. Connectivity for both Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, SpeedDiff, LAN, RCA, 3.5mm audio port. Now the U75 has 4 HDMI 2.1s, the U8 has 3, plus an arguably less useful USB-C port. As for the weight, the U75 with the stand is 22.7 kilograms, while the U8 is 29.1 kilograms. Despite the price difference, both of these TVs have identical remotes with identical metal-like finish, identical feel, identical weight, identical backlighting that come on even when you lift it up thanks to the G sensor, identical preset buttons, and also a customizable key on the far right. I'll tell you what, I'm a fan of how mid-budget brands nowadays are making TVs that look more expensive than they actually are. Like in this case, the thin bezels, the pretend metal but actually is plastic chassis, the nice stands, the good looking remotes. Like facing the TVs, for instance, both models look fantastic. The U75, to me anyway, looks better as it hides the bezels, especially the bottom ones, more effectively. But side on, both units are thicker all around than what, say, TCL does with their later QM and QMK series, where they're as thick in the central part of the assembly and much thinner toward the outer edges. It's all about personal tastes here, but personally, I prefer TCL's design language. So throw on any content with dark backgrounds and predominantly shadowy scenes like from Alien Romulus or the latest Nosferatu, and you'll be amazed, guys, by how the TVs keep blooming at bay and shadows even and dark with very little artifacts, and the colors are just mwah, especially in filmmaker mode. It's only when things like subtitles and bright titles pop up will you spot a small bit of haloing. Now, warranting the price increase, the U8 has better guts to produce a wider color gamut and better contrast, basically an obviously superior all-around picture experience. Now, in terms of brightness, the 2500 plus max nits on the U75 will burn your retina out in a darkened room, I'll tell you what, and the nearly 5000 peak on the U8 must be similar to what Moses saw on Mount Sinai. Unfortunately, I think where Hisense kinda sorta dropped the ball is the display's good but not great glare rejection layers, which granted is better on the U75 as you might have seen in the background or in the B-rows. But here's the thing, even if darks on both are fantastic and the panels are pushing max brightness that rival the sun, any significant glare becomes more bothersome than I would prefer, again, especially on the U8. I mean, it's no big deal if the TVs are not directly facing a window like mine or a light source, or even if they are, if your TV is tilted downward on a mount or something, glare shouldn't be an issue, but I thought I'll mention it anyway. I'll tell you what, Hisense's Pentonic chipset doesn't get the recognition it deserves because it really does wonders for standard definition content. I mean, HD and 4K rendering especially are impressive too, but SD images are smooth and well done, almost knocking on HD-like quality sometimes to my eyes. And I also noticed how apps and streaming, say from my NAS, are snappier than TCL's latest models. Even Remux files that I could never get to play smoothly or at all locally were not an issue with either of these sets, so plus points, at least in my use case. Some of you may care about this. I have an RTX 5070 gaming rig connected to the screens for testing, and yet some degree of motion blur while gaming does rear its ugly head, such as during quick panning left and right or with fast moving objects. And for what it's worth, the U8 fares a little better, if only just. A small little niggle, HDR accuracy for the U75 needs some tweaking to get right, but that's just me being pedantic or if you're an absolute pixel peeper. Because here's the thing, most folks will just plug this thing in and totally like what they see. Between the two, the U8 doles out markedly superior lows and depth than the U75, due in part I would say to the 2 additional drivers and more wattage. But in general, SQ out of both of these models, totally serviceable, so do yourself a favor. If you're already playing at this price point, you should at least get a good soundbar and a sub to back up the visuals. In fact, I've been testing Hisense's $1,000 HT Saturn Atmos system, and it's actually a legit add-on. I was kind of skeptical initially. So the setup is pretty much identical to Sony Theater Quads in that there are 4 surrounds with their own top-firing speakers, with the front 2 creating a phantom center, but for a whole lot less money. Now the subwoofer is a tiny 6.5-incher, but what it lacks in punch up your chest, it makes up for composed volume. And now here's the cool part. If you link up the Saturn with any of these TVs or newer models in the future, the TV becomes the center channel as well. The U75 has HDMI 2.1 on all 4 of its HDMIs, which is perfect if you need to hook up a lot of things like your gaming console, your Blu-ray player, your PC and everything. The U8 oddly settles for one less HDMI 2.1 port, so you gotta, weigh your priorities there. This last one might seem insignificant, but the fact that Hisense throws in a 2-year warranty, at least here in the US, versus 1 year from Samsung, TCL, or Sony, goes a long way in terms of keeping customers happy, I think. Or maybe that just means they're twice as likely to fail. It's obvious the Hisense U75QG isn't reference class perfect, but I dare say that it's perfect for pretty much everyone. Even enthusiasts need a second or third TV, am I right? Practically every content you pump through the U75QG is going to be quite the amazing experience for all the reasons I talked about today, and then some. Now, if PQ and or gaming is your main concern, then go with the U8. But at the end of the day, the value champion is the U75, whereas the technical boss is the U8. Well, that was my quick review of the Hisense U75QG and U8QG, and I'm sticking to it, dang it. Thanks to Hisense for playing as well. If I'm not mistaken, this might actually be the last video I'll be making for the year, and also it'll be released right before Christmas. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys for being here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll see you in 2026, and don't get yourself in trouble. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to find out, I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like to find out more, there's tons of other great content out there like Stop the FOMO, or is that MoFo? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and if you like what I do, subscribe, like, and reshare this with your friends, and I'll see you in the next episode. And remember to do something loving and kind for somebody in this world, because guess what? If you haven't seen the news, the world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. I love you very much. Peace out and God bless.